What's up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today I want to talk about the few things that really bother me in AFKJ this season. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but of course whenever we talk about the point you might write in the comments how you feel about it, and I will be excited to read it, because for most of this stuff I really want to hear how you feel about it. For this today I have to say, if you followed my channel you might have noticed that in the recent weeks there weren't really too many videos on AFKJ. Well, at the same time I was definitely making some for Idle Heroes, where I was very active on my second channel. Reason for that wasn't necessarily that I didn't have time to do AFKJ stuff, it was just like that I didn't really feel about playing the game for extended amount of time, and at the same time really didn't feel like making the content that was available to do. There were options to do content, but really I didn't want to do that. And I want to talk about multiple aspects of this. First of all, today I was a little bit shocked because, well, it's currently 6 PM here. The reset is going to be in roughly about 8 hours, and on my server, which is a super active server, which is a super big server, we're currently still below 200 participants in Dream Realm. On many servers of course it is way lower, but for this server this is something that is usually achieved fairly quickly. We're fairly quickly at 200 players in here, so the fact that we are not right now kind of shows me, well, that their player count has dropped quite a lot. And from the communities, from everything that I hear, I always get the sentiment or get the idea that people currently do not really appreciate what is going on in AFKJ. And a big part in that, and something that has definitely also bothered me to an extent that I wouldn't really have foreseen, were the season phases. The season phases are a new thing that was implemented within the season, basically splitting the season in 3 parts. Every part with certain caps to the content. We can, for example, see the maximum resonance that you could achieve in phase 1 was 600, now it's 900, going to 1200 in phase 3, and caps to the game modes. No matter how strong you are, you can't go below Legend Trial 80, for example, in phase 1, even if you have a great strategy, even if you are great at the game, no matter what. Legend Trial floor cap was 80. And this is like the split between the phases. Once phase 1 ended and phase 2 started, those caps were lifted and you could progress, but till then we were limited in a way. And for some game modes this was a little weird. Legend Trial floor cap, for example, I noticed I reached that 3 weeks before the phase ended. So Legend Trial basically fell away, and then the season artifact level cap, you upgrade your artifacts to level 20, of course with the limited amount of resources you got from Legend Trial. And then Endurance Trial was pretty quickly achieved. Faction Talent was capped at 1, and as you know, like for Faction Talents is also a little bit of a point, don't want to make it into its own, but in general I feel like they made the faction talents a little bit weaker this season. Last season we had exceptionally strong faction talents. This season they seem a little bit more mid, which is also alright. I feel like I kind of still feel like they didn't really intend for the Wilder one to be that OP in the last season, but yeah, so we have that. Of course, if you have just the first page of the faction talents, you don't get the double buff tiles, which often is like a major thing for the faction talents to make them really strong. This is something we just have right now, and just now getting into with big damage and battle drills from the light bearer tile. So that is something that is definitely, yeah, one thing that is interesting. And of course, the season start was good. We had a pretty great story. I liked the story, I liked the general terrain. We got to meet the dwarves over here. We were in Saltarine. We figured out all of the Easter eggs. We did all of that stuff. So story-wise, not really any complaint here for this first season phase, but there was other stuff. And to check this out, I got you guys the season calendar here. This was like the plan for phase 1. You can see season stage 1. We got the release of Indris, we got the release of Diamond, crossover heroes. The crossover event was still available during that time for some days. And then we got the Ashen Applause, which was the Kulu release, which was shown like a big event here. Really, it was just like, okay, Kulu is released. Here are some stellar crystals. Here is some temporal essence, by the way. I think that's Damien on there. Don't know, but I think. And then the main part of this season, which doesn't really stick out here, was like the Sunlit Showdown event. The Sunlit Showdown event was actually quite the massive event. An event with 1 versus 1 fights. We did a little bit of cover on that. We showed some of the best teams for it. Personally, from the perspective of like the fights and the strategy point behind it, I appreciated this game mode. I liked this game mode. It was an interesting game mode because you really had to think a little bit about which heroes you wanted to use, how you wanted to approach the fights. It had depth to it, which I liked. It had a good amount of loot as well. The problem that it had was it was just like a very long event running for like 3 weeks. And a very grindy event. I recognized that at one point I had around 60 attacks, and a good attack, like if you went ahead and just like did it with thinking and not just throwing heroes in there and giving a little bit more of consideration and maybe trying to optimize your item use as well, it could take between 5 and 10 minutes. So there was like a big amount of time that you could have spent towards this, and just like in general, a big amount of time that this event would take in an AFK game, certainly an unfitting amount of time for that. A big part of the rest of this new domains in Voyage of Wonders, which I still have to check out, I'll be honest, on the Titan Reaver takes about 1 second. Pearl Tycoon, I don't think it's like the most appreciated event. I think it's just like, it gives loot for not really doing a whole lot, and that's why people don't really complain about it. The Primal Lord was there. Was fairly interesting, not too many team switches there. Relentless Rumble, and then the basic events that don't really take a lot of time, those were all available, but it was fairly uneventful, despite us talking about events all the time. And really, I think it was like really 3 weeks before the end of the season where I noticed, oh, it really feels quite dead at the moment. And I got like the feeling that many people agreed with that and were like, okay, the season just basically stopped. It felt so strange because right at that point we were in the first third of the season. We just finished the story. We just went into the game discovering the Easter eggs. At that point, not even all Easter eggs were discovered, and still end of season feeling in me. End of season feeling, which is absolutely insane. And I mean, like, if we watch the last part, Pearl Tycoon, yeah, doesn't really keep you in the game, does it? Damon was already long enough in the game for us to know he's OP. There was no other hero at that time. And the events weren't too hyped. The Primal Lord just ended. It was really after the Primal Lord end, probably. And just not a whole lot going on. I don't know how they managed to do that, but I think it was like, in general, not being able to push different game modes kind of played into it, because we generally reached the cap at that point. Not being able to improve a whole lot anymore, because resonance was really capped, which was like really weird also in Dream Realm, because everybody was at the same resonance, so small damage increases started to become really important, which I guess for me is kind of alright, because it gives you the opportunity to kind of make use of your P4 heroes and stuff and get like a little bit of extra from that. But at the same time, it was like you increased your damage by 200k or something. On 197.2 was place 11, and 197.4 was like place 8 or place 7 or something. So absolutely insane how many people were at roughly the same damage. And that was also really weird. But at that time, many people actually quit. Or quit for the season, which is not uncommon. I guess many people kind of quit and go ahead and don't necessarily feel like progressing the season, and maybe come back at a later time, take like 3-4 weeks off, and then just come back for Ravaged Realm, which again we're going to get this season. We're going to see what happens then. But really, I think for me, the problem was really that the feeling of this is the end of the season was there, even though we were in the first third, in the first month, really, with probably 3 more months to go before the season actually ends. So yeah, that was kind of insane. So really bad feeling there. Really, I heard a lot of people just say, okay, remove those faces. And I don't know. It is still tough for me to say why. I guess the cap kind of feels bad overall. Just being capped on everything, not being able to like progress those game modes. I can see that. I certainly didn't like the Legend Trials cap. I don't even know why. I don't really like pushing Legend Trials. But they somehow found the worst way to do a season. They somehow found the worst way. I didn't even expect that. I looked at it and I didn't think it was too wrong, because there are things that I like about this. I like that there is a Prime Lord for every single phase. I like that it is structured. I like how they kind of took the time to see that there is something to do. Because just looking at the season plan, you would say, hey, there is always some kind of event, something that they have planned. It looks rather full. There is a lot of loot there, which is cool. There are like the roadmaps. This is for the second season phase. Again, we see there is like a little 7-day login thing. We have Clash Thrones coming back, which people don't really like still. I think the map is weird, by the way, but it overall grants a lot of loot. That is no question about it. So it grants a lot of loot. And also, I just noticed that one guy has asked me in the comments about the Potion Panacea title. Now I know where it's from. It's there. If the dude is watching, there is the Potion Panacea title, like right on the screen there, from the 17th. Happening in about a week, we get the Potion Panacea event. Interesting. So there you should get the title. Interesting. And then you can say there is a lot of stuff happening. And there's other good stuff that people really haven't talked about. Because I really haven't seen anybody mention it. But if you go into the season quests, into the season phases, there is like a lot of loot in here. Limited, for example. You see that? Increased resonance level. You get like an epic invite letter for the clear of AFK stages. You get the Rosy Jewel even. There's 5 temporal essence here, and this loot that just like was dropping throughout the entire time. So there was always loot in here, and I kind of like that we even had some Rosy Jewels drop, which free-to-play players really wanted and are now available. So you get some of those, and I saw the count of mine go up at the same time, which is pretty cool. And at the same time, let's just do a 10 bomb in there, because I know I have 30. We can see if we can drop something here. So let's go ahead. We had a cool skin there. I think people in general appreciated the Rosy cosmetic one. The Shamira skin was absolutely glorious. So we had good cosmetics as well. So there was positive stuff and good story, good cosmetics, good loot overall. And still, nonetheless, it's a horrible season in my opinion. It is a horrible season. I really appreciated the last one. Can I get some loot, please? Okay, we get some loot. 450, nice. I really appreciated the last season. I kind of liked it. Chains of Eternity, I thought that was like really cool. And I absolutely don't like this one. I really struggle finding motivation to play the game. And I think one big part of this is the AFK system. The AFK system is something I don't like. I'm not really talking about like the cap and the infinite stages. I think infinite stages are kind of alright. Giving some players the opportunity to push a little bit, get some loot here. By the way, this time there is equipment in here, interesting. And getting some loot, how far they, depending on how far they pushed. The only problem that I really have with this at the moment is that I find it rather annoying. We still have the efficiency system. At the moment, I'm 2 days ahead of the efficiency. And in the last season, what happened was, if you reach the daily efficiency, you got the maximum amount of daily loot, which is still the same. But in the last season, what they didn't do was they didn't put materials into like the daily drops or the drops that you get for clearing stages that allowed you to enhance your level further. So really didn't have a whole lot from pushing ahead. So this time around we find the season essence, for example, in phase 2 here. In phase 1 it was world training manuals. And of course the further you push now, the higher your level is. And especially at the start of the season, I noticed people were madly pushing ahead. And then I looked into Supreme Arena, and I was ahead of AFK efficiency anyway. And I looked into Supreme Arena, and there were people like 100 levels ahead of me. And I was like, yeah, okay, dude, cool. So we're not going to do that today, I guess, because I really didn't have the time to do that. I have this YouTube, which is like not a professional thing. I do this as a hobby. I do have a job. I have another company. I have a share in the company. I have stuff to do. I really do like AFK games just because you spend little time on it. It shouldn't be a competition in who has the most amount of time to push into those stages. I don't want to shame anybody that does. If that is the fun for you and you have the opportunity to do it and you really want to go ahead and push stages, and if that makes you happy, that's great, because if this game manages to make you happy, that is a wonderful thing, and we play the game to have fun. And if that's what makes fun or is fun for you, absolutely gorgeous, but it is an AFK game after all, so it kind of has to respect people's time, and being 120 levels behind just because I didn't have time to push AFK stages all day, that is kind of bad, and that is not an AFK thing to do. So really, that was something that has demotivated me quite a lot. And of course, basically the season starts and I fall back in Dream Realm a lot because those people just have super high level. It gets better and better the longer the season goes on. It's about, by this point now, it's pretty okay already. It's starting to go back to okayish. I could keep my ranks somehow, but overall didn't quite make me happy and took a heavy toll on my motivation. So, like season phase system, that was like the number one part. The next thing was that I really don't want to make the content that I probably should make. And that has become quite a bit of a problem. It intertwines with another problem, and maybe we should make both at the same time, but let me start off with the content that I would make, or that I should make, that would make sense. The content that I should make and would make sense would be to post the best Dream Realm team, to post the best Supreme Arena teams, to post the best teams for Clash Fronts, the best teams for Battle Drills. And I used to do this in a while back. I used to do this, but I've really lost motivation to do so. Because in reality, most of the teams that are shared in that way, and that's not the thing for every creator. Some creators spend a wonderful amount of time finding wonderful Supreme Arena teams, but a lot of these teams that are shared are just from Yapala. And Yapala, there are people that post great teams. It is a community effort after all. And for many things, it has to be that way. It has to be that way. It's not like I want to say content creators are lazy and just reposting Yapala. It is that I have to say content creators don't have another choice. Because let's say I want to post the best Battle Drills teams. I mean, of course, I could go ahead and I could just say, talk to my guild and say, okay, you test this, in a super coordinated effort to do so. I could go ahead and just try that. But the thing is, if I don't want to strap my entire guild in front of this carriage, then I really only have my daily stamina. That means I can use every single hero 3 times, and switching through multiple teams is still very, very complicated with the current team, because what that means is, well, if I want to use Bonnie in this team, and then I use Bonnie in another team, and in another team, then Bonnie is gone. Then I can't test Bonnie anymore. So really that makes it difficult for a single player to test a lot of teams and to find the best teams. So it's much easier when you go into community like Yapala, you look at that, and then somebody says, okay, this team is good, and then 3 people go ahead and test this team with some variant heroes and find out that variant C was stronger, and then this is posted as the strongest team. So you can see how that process leads to a more successful and better team in the end. So this is posted in Yapala. So we have the highest quality information, better than any YouTuber could ever do it, on Yapala. Which means as a content creator, you can go in there, you can take the information from Yapala, you obviously give a source because you didn't come up with it yourself, and then you make a video about it. But what effort does this really require from the content creator? A little bit of charisma, a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of like structuring it well. That would be the part of you as a content creator. That is not really why I do content. I don't necessarily care about making this information of Yapala available to you in video form. I don't care for that. That is not interesting to me. I did this for some time. I do this occasionally when I feel the motivation for it, but ideally, if I wanted to make proper AFK journey content, I should be available and do this for every single opportunity that there is. I should do it for Dream Realm, I should do it for Clash Fronts, I should do it definitely for the upcoming Primal Lord, and I should make an update video every single time there is a new better team, which for some Primal Lords has resulted in multiple updates. But I don't really want to do it. I prefer to just like do a video like the one that I posted, I think 2 days ago, or just take a look at an artifact, for example, experiment a little bit, come up with some creative teams, try out different teams, try out different possibilities, maybe do a little bit of PvP against Brownie or something, do a co-op video with some creator discussing a topic, going in depth about something, and coming up with my own content, really. That is something that I much prefer. And I feel like at the moment this is rather difficult. I find myself sometimes just discarding a video because, well, I want to make a video about a cool PvP team, let's say that. I was experimenting in PvP today for a while, and then you notice, well, you do some fights, and you end up fighting. I tested, for example, against Turtlelegs. I did multiple tests today. We can check out my duel history. We see it against Turtlelegs here, and I tried multiple team variants, and it lost. And then I was like, why does it lose? Does it lose because, well, the team is weak? And what I was testing, by the way, was the Mauler faction talent together with Balrin. I wanted to see how that works out. Does it fail because of that? Or is it just like that I run a Paragon 1 and a Supreme Plus hero on my team against the full Paragon 4 comp? Is that the case? And this has like two layers to it. The first layer really is, well, the heroes itself. It's a little bit hard to test without having the Paragon. Like if you wanna have a very good testing experience, what I would do now, looking back, is I would probably never upgrade again to Paragon 4, not even to Paragon 1 really. Because it's much easier, if you want to have a testing account, to go ahead and test everything at Supreme Plus. At that point you have a pretty stable team. The Celestial Heroes and the Hypergenes, of course, they have a little bit of Paragon even at Supreme Plus, but in general, it doesn't destroy your testing too much. The problem right now is, once you have a few heroes at Paragon 4, the distance of power they have to Supreme Plus heroes is just so big that I can't really go into PvP and, let's say, test, for example, how good the Valka is. How would I do that? As soon as I put a P4 into Supreme Plus in the team, who am I even fighting? I have to search for maybe a team where the power level is about the same, but even then we have damage reduction and all of the other stats, so it doesn't really work out. And this has become quite annoying, especially, and this is probably the point where I have the second problem, and we can kind of focus on that, especially for older heroes. I really wanted to test Rowan a little bit more, but at the moment he's just Paragon 1, and I have already gone ahead and enhanced him a little bit, but the flexibility in this game is just not there. It is just very tough if you have a hero that is Supreme Plus to get him to the point where I can efficiently test him, which would be like Paragon 2, maybe Paragon 3. It just takes either a ton of spending that I can't really do at the moment, because, well, for the one thing, viewers are down, which is part of the season phase system, and for the other thing, purchases are down. A lot of people don't purchase anymore, or purchase way less through loot bar. I see the numbers there. We are lower right now than at the end of last season on loot bar, where I get like a share for everybody that purchased there. So we are lower than at the end of last season, which is crazy, which is absolutely crazy. And this has gone up a little bit. This has gone up, by the way, maybe 20% with the start of season phase 2. And I reckon the reason for this is just because Stargaze bundles and people buy those. So it is certainly a thing. So really, spending doesn't really do it. The flexibility in this game really isn't there, and I would wish, like, at least for the base game heroes, that we get the option to switch them, or that we get some PvP testing mode where we can just have another toggle where we can just say, okay, we want to deactivate Paragon, because like it isn't too interesting to test Paragon anyway. If we just had like a little toggle at the side where we can say, okay, I want to have another thing like this on, off, and we just deactivate our Paragon. That would be pretty cool. So that we can have like a testing ground where we can see people or heroes in PvP, can test out different teams without running into that problem. So that has demotivated me, actually, because every single time when I think, oh, this team would be really cool, I notice that one of the heroes is just like P1 or something, and you can't really progress. And then you have like heroes that just now become cool, like Walker. And ideally you would have all of those heroes, but isn't really valuable for me, for example. And yeah, this has been quite annoying, I have to say, and has actually stopped me from doing, I think, 2 or 3 videos, which was a little bit crazy. So yeah, would really appreciate if AFK Journey went ahead and just like introduced more swap options. In my other game, Idle Heroes, I mean, we aren't super flexible either, but we are at least flexible to the extent that I can put some power on a hero and make it usable for PvP. It isn't just like, okay, I mean, essentially, for example, losing Lenya is like absolutely impossible at the moment for me. So if she's Supreme Plus, I would need to upgrade her, and this is a super long process. Would take forever. If they for some reason now decide, and this is like the mean thing, honestly, as much as I like Supreme Force and the Supreme Force upgrades, it's also really mean, because as soon as some hero becomes good, like let's say Satrana for example, as soon as some hero becomes good that wasn't formerly good and is maybe from the base game, you might just have at the very low Paragon or just like at Supreme Plus. And if you are a player like me with Paragon 4 heroes, you then have a long way to go until you can actually use them, which is like, so annoying. And then maybe there's some hero that you don't use for ages. It would be so cool to just be able to say, okay, really, Lily May, you were cool, but I don't really use you too much anymore. Maybe I just want to swap you, I don't know, for Brian or something. If there was some resource that we get. We of course have like, the swap scrolls. I clicked on the wrong thing. We have the swap scrolls. We get those every single season, and yeah, okay, cool. But first of all, this don't really help you for the base game, and those are super limited. 1 S tier, 1 A tier, certainly not enough for any testing, certainly not enough to cope with all the meta switches that we see through a season, for instance. So I still think we would have to have something that is a little bit more flexible. And yeah, so that was something that has bothered me. The season phases have bothered me. The motivation and like the content flow in general have bothered me a little bit. And I'm still trying to find my way out. I'm still trying to find like the sweet spot where I say, okay, this is interesting content that I like to make. Because I don't necessarily want to quit AFK Journey. I still think they can make it work. They are trying different things. And even though I hate these season phases, we have seen that there are also positive changes. They just fly a little bit under the radar at the moment. The structure, the amount of content really that is in this season, the loot that was added there, all of this is pretty cool. And the game is improving also with stuff like Lucky Flip, which where, by the way, is our quick spend button. When we are already complaining about stuff, where is my quick spend button? I do bloody one match in Honor Duel, or go ahead and do one match in Arcane Labyrinth, and I sit there and press this button for next, I don't know, 1 minute, 2 minutes. That's like so annoying. They wanted to give us one button where you can just click one time and every key goes in there. But they haven't done so yet. So I don't forget that. So yeah. Definitely a few things that have annoyed me. I don't know how you feel about this. I don't even know how you feel about like a 27-minute talking video. That's probably just going to be a 50-view video after 2 months. But I don't hate it. I do those videos more often for idle heroes. For AFK Journey, this is not really the stuff that works. For idle heroes, I can sit here and talk for 30 minutes and something, and people will still say it's a cool video or they appreciate it. And they're just going to discuss it in the comments with me. For AFK Journey, this is somewhat different. It's like people are searching for videos more focused, I would say. Maybe a little bit more towards like they have a certain problem that they want the video to fix. So like they need a team for the Primal Lord or something. It's less that I feel like that people are really looking for, okay, let's just really discuss just topic or something. Kind of feel like this is a little bit different in those communities. But yeah, you can tell me down in the comments how you feel about all of the things that we discussed today. Other than that, of course, check out Loot Bar, first link in the description, and we can get the cheapest dragon crystals. Huge shout out to them, by the way. You have to buy some more because I didn't buy the last Stargaze, because the packs, and we kind of have to stock up on those for the next one, because I expect in season phase 3 another Celestial or Hyper Gym, which we have to look forward to. So yeah, we'll see about that. Anyway, I wish you guys a great day, and we'll see us in the next one.